Hi guys, and welcome to Big Pictures webinar on fast and frank employee feedback. This is a subject I'm absolutely passionate about because when I was doing my research for the webinar, I realized that when we talk about employee feedback, it's actually amazing that most of the articles and content that I look at, it's all about the employer giving the employee feedback, which is very much that kind of top-down direction. What we're going to be doing today with your help, and it's very much a making and doing session, is for you to actually experience an insight into employee feedback that I've had with working with businesses for 25 years. So I'd urge you to go to www.yourbigpick.com and have a look at my introduction or pitch video, just so there's some new people on the line and I want you to become familiar with where Big Pictures come from and give you the kind of general view. My related experience of employee feedback is because it's generally top down from employer to employee, and it's done generally in part as part of an appraisal, so that is a kind of individual singular assessment. Often that feedback stays within that room, and any kind of value within it is therefore limited in terms of what it can capture and move on and turn into. And my experience of that is to be a bit smarter about the way we ask for employee feedback. And in terms of getting that back into the business, that's where we really specialize. So in effect, that feedback becomes qualified. There's a chance for others to interact and make sense of it and make their own connections. It doesn't just stay in that room. Now, I acknowledge that there are some personal sensitivities around feedback, and that's really important to acknowledge as well. We're going to be focusing more today on how we connect that into the business. But if there are personal kind of sensitivity aspects of feedback, we'll probably look at that in a different webinar. This is mostly about the value that you can bring from employee feedback, how you capture it in a fast and frank way, and how you turn it into something valuable within the business. The next bullet I'd like to share is kind of the delve into the fast and frank element, which is in the title. So from a fast perspective, what I'm referring to there is the end-to-end. So from the point that you request feedback, when you get employee feedback, what you actually do with it and how you then turn into something useful for them to do something within the business. That's what I mean by fast. So it's more the end-to-end from the point of collecting the feedback to the point of actually applying it in terms of value into the business. And then frank, as I've mentioned earlier, frank often means direct, and it can mean that it becomes quite personal. And in terms of that feedback, if it is directed at others, then it's the kind of stuff that you might hear moaning about around the coffee machine or in the lift. And actually, that's something Big Picture really helps with, because as you can see behind me, left and right, when you direct that feedback via a third-party inanimate prop, which are kind of our symbols here that you see on the wall. When you won't use that one because it interferes with the green screen, but when you use these symbols, what tends to happen is it's a lot easier for people to direct that via a third-party prop, instead of actually direct. So what I'd like to do, if you printed off your props, which I hope you have, as I emailed out, what I'd like you to do is to get hold of them. On the top left, we're going to feature today, and when we get into the kind of practical element, we have to move quite quick because we like to keep these quite short. On your prop in front of you, we're going to feature a made-up business, which I'd like you to follow along with me on. You can come up with your own example if you like, but I'm going to introduce a company called Big Picnic. We provide pamper in a hamper, which is, yes, something I made up. And it is actually based on some recent experiences. So whilst the company is fictional, this is a real example that came up in terms of the type of feedback we get from employees in a business when we're helping them. On the top of your page, there's a place to put the name of the business, Big Picnic, on the top left. And then at the top of the page, provide a pamper in a hamper is what the business is there to do. That's the purpose. And in the top right, there's some space there to list some of the things that we really care deeply about. So it's about providing top-end treats, the ingredients are fresh, and it's convenient. So basically, it's business which provides hampers for picnic and outdoor events. Again, based on a client I've worked with recently. So the feedback is, imagine a conversation, you're in a session, you're going to play the role of the employee. And this, we're going to do a kind of role play it out. What I like you to think about is that if I kind of give you the feedback that we actually collected on the day, I'd like you to just make a note of it on your big pick prop. And that is that your role in the business is working in customer care. And what you're trying to do is minimize the amount of returns that come back. So it's very much kind of a food and quality based product. So you want to minimize the amount of dissatisfaction with the customers that come through. Now, in order to achieve that, you have some observations. And one of those observations is that some of the returns are coming through because the marketing team are potentially not setting the right kind of expectation with the customer. And I'm going to stop there. There's a few bits of different pieces of information. And on your prop on the left-hand side, you've got a number of symbols. And what we do with Big Picture, we encourage the right kinds of conversation by using symbols and elements to pick out different ideas. And what that does is it helps people get their own message across and helps the conversation with their colleagues. So what I'd like you to do is on the left-hand side is just tear or cut off the team, opportunity, measure, and challenge symbol. And what I'll do is I'll just repeat the statement I made. And what I'd like you to do on the central part of the page is make a note of the information that I'm giving you. And this would be a bit of an insight into the kind of thing we would do in a big picture session when we're gathering the kind of feedback that we like, that we'd like to take on and improve the business with. So let me go back over it. With your prop in front of you, you as the team, the red symbol, are working within customer care. Take the team symbol, plonk it in that, see on the grayed out template on the right hand side, you have customer care. Put the red symbol in there, give yourself a name, that's where you're working. When we put a symbol on Big Picture, we tend to write underneath. We encourage people to write underneath the name. So you are who you are, working within customer care. Write in the words customer care and a box around it. That kind of gives you the position on the Big Picture template. And you're trying to achieve, or what you're trying to do is to minimize the number of returns. So this is where we would use the measure symbol, that black symbol with the white cross. Take that measure symbol and plonk it in customer care, maybe minimize returns. And you've had an observation that up the customer care line, you've got a marketing issue. From your position, you feel marketing and mis-selling. And I'm just going to share with you what I have on my, I'm following along as well. So this is something that you might end up with if you've had a go yourself, which I hope you have. And I'm just going to bring that up. Just bear with me. And just see, there's no right or wrong answer to this, by the way, but what there is a bit of an insight as to how to compare with others, and that creates a point of difference and a good conversation in itself. So that's what I've noted at this point. I've noted that I'm Mart, I work in customer care, I happen to have a yellow pen, so I write in the customer journey line. I'm trying to achieve to minimize returns. That's my kind of measure, my aspiration. And of course, we discussed that across the team. The team symbol is used for both an individual and also a team. Then my observation, which we see quite a lot, that there's actually some mis-selling going on or mis-expectations in another part of the business. And of course, it's very easy when we're talking to customer care to kind of cast out and make an accusation or an observation maybe about a different part of the business. And that can be quite tense, but it is helped by the fact that you're running with these props where you can direct your kind of attention. So going back, if you got something like that, great. If not, absolutely fine. And maybe we'll look at the differences and see where you think you have got the difference and the reason for it. Now, I'd like to take it forward into the second stage. What we would then do, if you imagine a conversation around you want to agree how to take this forward into the business, what I'd like you to do is we use the energy of the challenge symbol, and we like to keep the conversation going. And what we would do, even with the customer care team, even though they're observing something over there in marketing, is we would use the opportunity symbol to discuss what could be done, what the opportunity is to make things better in the business. So take the opportunity symbol and then place it where you think on your prop that you think there's an opportunity to make that better. We would encourage a conversation between people in the customer care team, because people might have different ideas, might do it a bit of a brainstorm. We might even introduce something to generate some creativity or inspiration, and then you place the opportunity symbol where you think it is. In addition to that, to absolutely cement that as an action, we would take the opportunity that you've come up with, and then in the bottom left hand side of your prop, there's a list there, which is a simple list, which is, we've done our brainstorm and our mind map type approach. On the right hand side, what I'd like you to do is to then, if you do have a number of ideas, carry the one idea or two that you really like down into that opportunities box. And I'll just give you a minute to do that. And I'm just sharing on screen now what we have in this space, what I've done here. So what I've done is be good to compare yours. So what I've added there is the fact that if marketing are mis-selling and setting incorrect expectations, then, you know, maybe some training is in order. You know, people sometimes giving, you know, it's good to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're a new team, maybe they've come off a different product, maybe they're not familiar with what's going on, and therefore some training might be in order. So immediately we've flipped around the negative energy of a challenge into a positive opportunity. And furthermore, in the bottom left, what we've done is we've used that list to identify some things we actually can do. It's got more of an action feel to it, so we could train up the marketing team. Another idea that came out when I was working with this client was to provide an FAQ, frequently asked questions. So clearly there's a link, and you can see it on the big picture template there, that we've got a link between customer care and what's going on in marketing in terms of the balance on the page. So linked together with a customer journey that runs through the center with a customer right at the center. You'll notice on the template we have operations, but we really haven't delved into that yet. So for this webinar, we're sticking to the customer care marketing tension, which often can come out with feedback. Clearly feedback can be positive as well. It's just more generally negative, more of a black hat Edward de Bono thing, and that's what we're using as an example. Now, what I'd like to go for next, and do compare with what you've got. Now, to make it personal, I suppose, and I mentioned it earlier, the way the tension can work is the fact that when I was in this client, we then went off to talk to the marketing team separately in a separate day on a separate event. And what came out is they admitted in a way they didn't know enough about the product. And that meant that they acknowledged the need for training, which was a good thing. And that was something that is currently in action for them to help. And what they also did is they recognized themselves as they felt from their position of marketing, the customer care really not taking responsibility maybe for some of the calls that are coming in, which is, you know, at the time we didn't know. We wanted to get two teams together, but I just wanted to let that play out on big picture. So now we've got counter employee feedback on another part of the team that had previously commented on them. So it was all getting a bit messy, but a beautiful thing happens, because by using the same language of big picture, it gives you this objective view of the business on which to direct further feedback and kind of resolution to any conflicts in feedback. So I just want to share with you where we took it, and you've got some symbols there, and I know you've just got one of each, but if you just want to move them around, I'm going to show you what we ended up with when we finished with the marketing team. Now, this is a bit of a consolidation because they were actually on different big pictures, but what the marketing team is saying here to the left hand side is that customer care have a challenge by not taking their calls, not taking responsibility for the calls, and marketing were thinking they could do more on that. So what we did, we further progressed the work. We took both teams into a session, and what we did is we started with a blank page, and then we started walking through big picture with both teams. And what happened there is that the feedback, the original feedback, then starts to be qualified. As I mentioned earlier, I think that's one of the issues with employee feedback. There's no kind of qualification to it because it tends to stay in a room, and it's very much the responsibility of a line manager to take that away. So by having the two teams in the room, what we were able to do is to explore what further opportunities there were to turn the potential negative energy of two challenges into a positive opportunity. And then something interesting happened, and I'd just like you to focus on your own notes that you have in front of you. Can you think of something, an opportunity that potentially would be a benefit to both teams in terms of the two challenges? Have a little think about that. And I'll just bring mine up in the background. So I'm just going to share that with you. So what we have here is a great idea came up, and imagine the kind of conversations that led us to this. So this is one of those opportunities which really was good for the business. So what we ended up with was a bit of a job swap. So insights and knowledge would be taken from customer care into the marketing team via people, product, and equally at the same time the teams were sufficiently big enough to take insights in the form of people and product from marketing into the customer care area. And this was all done without getting into too much detail. It was done in a controlled way. We were able to kind of track and plan in the time. Clearly there's a slight there is a cost to the business, which is the time of the person out of the most productive role going into the other area. But really a great idea that has come about by taking employee feedback and actually turning it into a positive. And that's our insight really. So fast and frank employee feedback. To recap, my experience is that it's employee feedback is sometimes done in a way that doesn't allow the value to be captured. What Big Picture and my experience provides is a way to take that feedback and turn it into something. It's all about turning it into something, about capturing the value of the feedback and turning it into something positive, putting aside the personal sensitivities and that employee's own development, because that's a subject of a different webinar. This is about taking the value of that feedback into the business fast, in terms of you can get that feedback and it turned into something in a matter of days and weeks. So not only does it happen, it happens fast. You have a mechanism, a device, and a way of doing that, including the individual, their own team, and potentially other teams, which you can do on the same day over a series of events. It's remarkable when you put in place a reasonable framework how that can come alive in a short space of time. And then frank, in terms of it's directed via the symbols and the template. If you look down to your notes, it's it's much more comfortable to send your thoughts via this third kind of party, inanimate kind of thing, rather than me directing it at a person. So that's our experience of fast and frank employee feedback. I hope you've been able to follow along. What I'm going to end with is, if we just have a little run around our website, what we do as Big Picture, we on the website now. Hopefully you'll be able to see it, so please go and have a look yourself. Got the home page there at the top, the things that we sell. I'll do them in reverse order. Kits, workshops and programs. Kits are these lovely things here where we've got our different symbols and various props that get people wanting to come into the training room and actually wanting to be excited about coming on training courses. There aren't just the symbols we've looked at today. There are symbols for customer for technology, for money, and for process. And then we end with challenge and opportunities, which you can get a grasp of if you look at our YouTube channel. The kits that on the website are listed here. We have an activity kit for walking in and out of. Here we do like a team activity. We have a meeting kit for sitting down shoulder to shoulder someone with, and we have a workshop kit for the kind of board at the front of the room and symbols. And at the top we have a bit of a sample kit as well. The workshops that we run are two types mainly. One is to come to you as a corporate and we'll run the workshop for you. That's where we come generally to your office, and there's some information about that there. There are open workshops that we run from time to time, and you can register your interest for them, where we'll open it up and people can come on and have good insight into how to run Big Picture, and we'll actually teach them some of the method. And then we have programs which generally are revolving around two types: the people development programs, where the people are at the center of the Big Picture sessions, which is pretty much what we've done today by putting the employee at the center. And then there's business development, where we have the as is business and then the to be. So two different types of programs that we run. That's what we do. I would love you to take a look at our website a bit further. I would love you to have a look at our YouTube channel, where we've got lots of material. And I would like to thank you for joining this afternoon, and I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I'll be catching up with you in due course to find out some feedback. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching.